But he saved all the best grabs for me, haven't you, Peter?
Yes.
ABC, we stick together.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
You right?
The battery light station. Go and if
Okay.
it runs out, we run.
And just finally, how would you describe this move for the people who've worked here over the years?
Oh, I think this will be a move of great sadness because, as I've said, this has been our life. This has been the ABC for us. I mean, it smells ABC. It is the ABC. And where we're going will be something quite different. We're moving, I suppose we're literally going to, when we walk in the doors of South Bank, we're going to walk into the 21st century. That's what it's really all about. But for, I suppose, some of us have had the history that I've had, this has been the ABC.
Any particularly good or bad memories?
Oh, gosh, yes. I mean, so many good memories. The people that I've worked with, the people I've been here with.
Sorry. Come along and I'll make out like I'm having a chat to you.
Yes.
There's no one here.
Yeah.
So where are you off to?
Noddies.
Yeah.
Oh,
Of course, that's
there we
right.
go. Yeah.
Gosh. Well, everybody's got a chip in, I guess. So.
I've got to pack all the things. Are we going to stay?
No? You say when?
Fine now.
Okay. All right, firstly, Peter, if you could just tell me, how long did you work in this building? What was your experience?
I started my life in the ABC in this building we're sitting in right now. In fact, this is where I was trained to do what I do on...
All that goddamn big thing there?
Rolling now.
Right.
Right.
Right, where we go.
Okay. All right, firstly, Peter, if you could just tell me, how long did you work in this building? What's your experience been here?
Well, this is where I started my life in the ABC, quite literally. It was in not so much this room, but certainly this floor. This was the old talks department of the ABC, which later became split into spoken word and current affairs departments, and now produces programs such as AM and PM. But this is where I began. This, in a sense, this room was where I was trained to do what I do on the ABC now. And I vividly remember sort of coming in here, tape recorder over my shoulder, sort of wondering how my latest interview would be received by my then boss, who was Clive Speed. In the room next to us was Reg Neal. Reg Neal, of course, now retired many years. Along the corridor was the boss of the talks department in Victoria, Bob Horn. Paul Barber was a trainee with me at that particular stage. Also Ken Taylor worked in the department. And we handled pretty well all the spoken word programs. And some of the great commentators back in the 60s and the 70s, and before that, of course, 40s, 50s, 60s and 70s, all came to this floor, which is the third floor of Waverley Court. So, yeah, I mean, this is my home, I suppose.
And just personally, when did you start here and what's your work, what sort of work have you done here?
I started in May 1969. And it was right in the middle of the Vietnam War, and I realised, I mean, the protest marches used to go up and down outside the room we're in now, and I started in '69 as a trainee, and we worked on programs, a program called News Commentary, which has now been replaced by PM and by AM, and I moved further and further through that. But I remember, and some of the memories of here, coming in, and I think about the third interview I did was taken off the tape recorder and thrown across the room because it wasn't good enough, and I was set out to do it again.
So what's your time been like here personally? How would you describe it?
Oh, this place has got enormous character. I mean, it's just, I mean, it just reeks, it just lives memories, I suppose, if a building can do that. This building really has seen some of the finest talent in the ABC, perhaps some of the finest talent in Australia has been through this building. And I don't know what the future of it is. I believe it was a brothel at one stage and a hospital. And if you actually go to the bathroom, it was originally set up as a hospital. I'm quite certain about that. And this building it's going to be very hard to leave it. I've been here on and off for 26 years. I've moved around. I now work downstairs in the ground floor. But this room that we're in now is basically where I began as an ABC employee.
Okay, so what will you miss about this old building that the new one just doesn't have?
Oh, this building's got real character. I mean, the new building, no doubt, is taking the ABC into the 21st century. But from my perspective, this building's got character. I mean, do buildings have character? I think this one does. This one really, I suppose, evokes it.
Thanks, folks. Thanks for your patience.
Okay.
All right, and
I'll get them now. Looking here. That's it. Okay, are you ready? And to me. 1, 2, 3. And on this camera.
and
Yeah.
when you're ready.
Okay, firstly, Doug, if you could just tell me, how long did you work in this building and how long have you been with the ABC?
Well, they're both the same answer. The first day I worked with the ABC was here in January 1987. I did the first program for Drive Time Radio down in that main studio in 1987, and I've been here every working day since. So this is the 9th year, which makes it longer than I've been anywhere in my working life. In fact, anywhere in my whole life.
So what's your time been like here?
Oh, just fabulous. It's been the most wonderful time. I love this building dearly. I love 3LO. I can think back to all of the people I've worked with. I mean, most of them have gone on now to other things. I suppose I will eventually. But I can remember Michael Schulberger and Mary Adams and so many others who were here when I arrived are not now. In fact, I think I'm the only one of the original Monday to Friday lineup left. But and all the famous people who have come to this humble old building, like the film stars and the politicians and the prime ministers, and we've all interviewed them, and they've all come into this quaint little creaky old building, and we're going to miss it.
So what will you miss about this new building that the new one doesn't have?
The new one's wonderful. The new one is a matter of transporting one's mind into the future and adapting and coming to terms with things, and I think I'm doing a fairly good job. It's just that it's been hard turning my back on a place like this with so many sentimental memories.
So, and I suppose that leads on to my next question, which is really, how would you describe this move for all the people who've worked here over the years?
I would describe it as traumatic. There's only one word, traumatic.
And just finally, any good or bad memories from your point of view?
All the memories are good. I mean, I suppose there have been a few bad things that have happened here in terms of a whole lot of people working in the same place, but this place will hold more warm and happy memories for me than any other place I can think of.
That's great.
Stay where you are if you
Yep.
can.
Yep. That's good. Yeah, it's good. So it wouldn't have been too long ago that you were at school.
Well, actually, it comes from this bit.
Right, cool, wrong. Can't reach you. Two things to die. Yeah, this one.
When he can call Dr. Leon, yeah, well, that's, I don't know whether he will know, but he will, oh yeah, I thought that she was going to, because I told Dr. Wu what was going on. Yeah, it might be a good idea, I can see you then. Thanks a lot, bye.
Yeah,
Right.
well, very briefly, that I used to ride a bicycle around this place here, delivering things from Oliver J. Nielsen when this place opened, or when it was first used. And I used to stand in the corner and watch this, and I was a keen radio person. And I've never been in here all these years.
All right, well, if you'd like to hang on 1 minute,
Okay,
I'll take
right,
you to
good, thank you.
Joan Cullum. Yes.
50 years to come into the place.
Throughout April at 3 p.m. The Sunday Live series, proudly supported by Melbourne's 3LO.
We're at 16 minutes past 11. Well, the commissioners of the city of Boroondara have voted against plans for development of Camberwell's historic golf links and have asked the state government to ensure the precinct be protected. Tell us why the proposed development, which was in Fairmont Avenue, has been rejected. I have the Chief Commissioner of the city of Boroondara, David Glanville. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ranald.
Well, why was the plan rejected?
Vic Code 2, basically to their limit.
Well, can I take that second question, or part of the answer first, and that is the definition by you of Vic Code 2. You say that what it might have just fallen in under the line under Vic Code 2, but was taken to the limit.
Yes. Yes, I think that's the basic argument that the commissioners had.
So you have to make the judgment on Vic Code. It doesn't.
In Vic Code 2, there are objectives and there are performance measures, and you can't just isolate any one of those three items by themselves. They have to be taken in totality. Our view was that in totality, it didn't comply.
State, I think it was classified by the National Trust a few years ago, maybe it was 89, was it? But it was anyway, it has been classified by the National Trust as an example of Australia's urban development between the two world wars, which is worth protecting.
That's right.
So how important was that to you?
Oh, well, it's very important, not necessarily that the National Trust has identified it, although that is important. But I think secondly that the council itself in 1991-92 just determined what further control should be placed. As well as the sort of ambience, the holistic approach to the tree.
With me now is Ward Rooney, Senior Forecaster at the Weather Bureau, and we were just talking about Collingwood, because he does actually support Collingwood. I was just saying, why not go to Anzac Day on Tuesday, because H.G. Nelson, he said we're going to win. So can, in fact, use the cloud formations by reading them, by assessing them, as some sort of own amateur weather forecaster. So tell us about clouds, first of all.
Well, clouds actually have been used as that sort of forecasting tool for time immemorial. All the little sayings about red sky in the morning, that sort of thing, are to do with the types of cloud. Now, in general, clouds are bundles of water droplets or ice crystals that are held up in the air, of course. So that is then connected, really, I guess, with the sort of vertical motions that are taking place, and that is the key to looking at it as a weather forecasting tool. The type of cloud that you see can be used to have some rough assessment of what's likely to happen, but it is pretty rough because there's lots of other parameters that may change.
Right. Well, now the other thing, of course, we get telephone calls every week about is the halo effect around the moon. Now, give us an idea of what that means. Can that tell us about the weather for the next day?
Unfortunately not. All it can tell us is that there's whether it's a halo or a corona, and both of them are a ring around the sun or the moon, so it's really difficult to tell. It really depends on whether it's ice crystals or water droplets, which is the thin layer of cloud that you're seeing the sun or moon through. That's a very complicated sentence. But as a forecasting tool, no.
Well, this is, of course, a rather lost...
They want to kill us.
What do you want to do? Oh, sorry.
So, when you're ready.
I'll turn that down in my headphones too. This is, of course, a rather nostalgic day for us here at Broadcast House, corner of Williams and Lonsdale Streets. It's our final day after 53 years of broadcasting from here, from our city location. We're moving across to the south of the Yarra, to South Bank, our new building there. So anyway, we will be broadcasting to you from there on Monday.
Lovely.
Making concrete changes in our legal system. You know, I think redefining rape to include this broad range of experience, which many women would not agree with, isn't really combating the problem.
Renee, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Well, thank you very much. It was a tremendous pleasure.
Renee Denfield, and Renee is the author of The New Victorians, a book which challenges the old feminist order. It's published by Allen and Unwin, and it's available now.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Terrific. Thanks, Renee.
Oh, thanks so much.
1447. Wow.
Oh, that's all right.
That was a
No,
nice
not at
view.
all, but it'll make it easy.
I know that it's pretty up there. We can go high together.
Okay, so the throw will be, do you like snorkeling and skin diving? Let's go to Heron Island, Sting, and then to Heron Island. Is that okay? That's fine. Jimmy Buffett and Come Monday. It's coming up to 15 minutes to 12. Peter Jefferson with you through till the news and the country hour. Now, do you like snorkeling and skin diving? Let's go to Heron Island.
Australia, you're with Peter Jefferson.
Well, diving is one of the really spectacular activities you can take part in on Heron Island. You can go snorkeling on the surface, or of course you can go aqualung diving.
Oh, someone's going to finish me off, I think.
But 10 years, oh no, they're cheating you, aren't they? I noticed you're just about a month short of being 10 years here.
That's right.
at
May the
3LO.
25th I started here, yes. May the 25th, 19. The easier they are to deal with, and people just don't mind sitting there, you know. And we'd have chats, and as you say, when bands come in and they want to warm up, go for your life, I'd say to them. Yes, please feel free. So I've had some wonderful concerts there.
It's great. There's a crowd in the studios here. There's champagne opening. Oh, heaven to hope you can do that. You're an expert at that, are you, Leonard?
Yes,
I'll
bet
bet
he is. Lots of practice.
Don't you pop on my microphone. Well...
You ready? There we
go. Oh, that's just blown anything else we were going to say, really, isn't it?
Well, Joan Cullen's been speaking to me, and the hands of the clock here at Studio 308 are fast approaching 3 o'clock and the end of an era in broadcasting. And it is indeed an historic moment for 3LO. After more than half a century, we're moving out of the old family home. So we're moving to grander premises, of course, but for many, many of us, there are golden memories associated with this building and these studios. And there's a lot of sadness and quite a few tears around the old place today. And I'm joined by members of 3LO staff as we say a very, very fond farewell to Broadcast House from Melbourne's 3LO.
Leave your day jobs, kids. Change the theme song.
News as it happens on Melbourne.
Oh, our Joe. Sitting here waiting all day, but oh, it doesn't matter. No, the moving man can lick that all.
Rise attributable to imported cars. Economist
Joe,
at
did you want this delivered to your house?
BZW says share prices and the Australian dollar have fallen and market interest rates have gone up as traders reassess.